Hello, I'm DeDe, and I'm here to bring you 30 minutes of yoga. In this session, we'll stay on the floor and focus on our core to help us develop greater overall strength, stability, mobility, and control. You'll need a yoga mat if you're on a hard surface like I am, a folded towel for some extra padding, some water to sip on. You probably won't need your shoes or your socks. As usual, you'll need room to move, so make sure you have plenty of space. And you'll move at the range of motion and the pace that feels right for you. All right, so let's come down. We're going to be on our back, so I want you to come down any way that works for you. And then because we'll be lying on our back, you may find that you need a little bit of support for your head and neck. If that's the case, fold your towel and put it under your head. Otherwise, keep it off to the side for now. And then we'll come down slowly, comfortably, safely. And then we'll stretch the legs out. So one leg stretches out. Bring your legs out into a V. The other leg stretches out. Shoulders away from ears as usual. Let's take the arms down to the sides and we'll turn the palms up. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. And then just start to focus on the rise and the fall of your breathing. Now begin to center your breath on your navel. So think about expanding your navel up and out on your inhales, and then let it retreat back and down on your exhales. Allow your thoughts to be fewer. Allow the busyness that you may have had in your mind to be less. And then if your eyes are closed, let them softly blink open. Let's bend the elbows. We'll start to move our hands around a little bit. You can keep your head in the center, turning your head constantly to the side to see me. That's not necessarily the best for your neck. So you turn your head occasionally when you need to see me, and then you turn your head back to the center. So we're doing this wrist motion with our fingers and thumbs spread apart, kind of like a starfish. Now let's do the same wrist motion with a light fist. That means that you're not squeezing too tightly, fingers against your palms. We're still breathing into our navel. We're still trying to expand our navel center with our inhales. All right, and then we'll relax the arms. Let's bend one knee and put the foot down on the mat, or if you're not using a mat, just down on the floor. Same with the other foot. And then we'll bring the knees into the chest, hold on to the backs of your legs, and then we'll do something similar with our feet, our ankles, our toes. So you can squeeze your toes in and you can flare your toes apart. Maybe you're not as able to do that as you can with your hands. We have more dexterity in our hands, but you can have a similar motion in your feet, believe it or not. Sometimes it takes a little bit of practice. See what you can do. Flaring your toes apart, squeezing your toes in, and then of course doing that ankle motion. Let's take one foot down in line with the hip joint, same with the other foot. Not too far away, not too close to you. Take your hands down at your sides. Inhale, press your pelvis upward as you exhale, coming into bridge pose. And we're keeping the spine neutral. We're not trying for a giant back bend here. And then inhale, bring it down. And then exhale, press it up. So I want you to press with your arms as well as pressing with your feet. So it's like you're trying to drive the arms through the floor. You're trying to drive the feet through the floor. Feel how much more recruitment of muscle happens when you use your arms and your legs to lift you. So it's important that your head stays centered while you're doing these bridge lifts, only because you have so much weight on your head when you're in the up position. Take it easy on your neck. By the way, if it feels like too much strain on your neck, you can take away your folded towel for this. All right, now stop for a second, come down, take a look at me, watch. I'm going to lift up and I'm going to lift one foot, and then I'll come down and I'll lift the other foot next time. All right, why don't you join me? Your head comes back to the center. Lift up one foot and your hips and bring everything down. Lift up the other foot and bring everything down. So if you have any muscle cramping or anything in your hamstrings or your glutes, the back of your thigh or your hip, you may not have enough hydration going on, so you may want to stop, take a sip of water. You can also not lift your foot. That's always an option. One more. All right, and then we'll come all the way down. Straighten out your left leg. Draw your right leg in towards your chest. Now both legs are straight, both legs come down. Inhale. As you exhale, pull the left leg in, right up towards your armpit if you can. And then we'll switch. Can we add some arms too? Arms sweep, the elbows can bend. And then grab the back of your leg, pull your knee toward your chest armpit area. Try to allow your leg that's coming in to get a little straighter as you can. Control your core muscles, keeping your low back not squished down super flat and not arched way up off the floor either. Maybe somewhere in between those two places. Okay, now one more each side. All right, and then we're bending both of our knees and placing the feet back down on the floor or on the mat. Now, everyone's favorite move, the windshield wiper. So move your feet out wide, wider than your shoulders. And then take your arms straight out or a little lower than straight out with your palms up. Inhale and your knees go to one side. As you exhale, your head goes opposite your knees. And then we'll switch. So we want to turn the navel as far as we can. Be reasonable, but turn as far as you can and stay in your comfort zone. Turn your face as far as you can while staying comfortable and sensible. One more. All right, now we're turning all the way over and we're pressing ourselves up with the hands. So now we're going to sit for a moment. Some people find it more comfortable, as you've heard me say in the past, if you've done sessions with me before, if they're sitting up on an elevated surface. So if you're more comfortable sitting up on your folded towel toward the front edge of your folded towel, by all means, do that. Otherwise, don't worry about that. Set it off to the side. Let's sit with our legs folded comfortably. Your feet can be further out, closer in. You can have one lower leg in front of the other, and it doesn't matter which, because we're going to try both. And then sit up, straighter, taller if you can. Inhale, take the arms out. Exhale, both hands go over to your right thigh and you'll turn your chest. And then inhale, over to the left for the exhale. Back and forth. Feels so good to move, but especially to focus on our trunk muscles, our core. I like to talk about core strength and core stability like this. You can have really strong legs and really strong arms, but if your core isn't strong, it's kind of like having a steel girder attached to a wet noodle, right? The steel girder wouldn't be of much use if the anchoring point is a wet noodle. And if your core is weak, it's kind of like a wet noodle, so we don't want that. Let's be strong like steel, flexible steel everywhere. And then we'll come back to the center. Now, take your other lower leg in front. And again, we're rising up to our tallest possible shape. Inhale, over to the side for the exhale. Inhaling here, exhaling over. When we're moving with the breath, it's important that we move in a way that assists the breath. So in this case, leaning over to the side helps us to exhale. And then inhaling helps us to be stable here in the middle. Feels better to move that way, doesn't it? back to the center. Let's open up the chest. Bring the arms back past your body. Exhale. Bring the arms forward. Let your rib cage press backward a little bit. And then inhale. Open up the chest. Exhale. Let your ribs press back just a little bit. 2 more. Big opening. Let's come back to a neutral position with our back. Now we're going to need some extra padding under our pelvis because we're going to be face down on our mat. So put the extra padding right about in the middle of your mat and then put the front of your pelvis on the towel. Now watch what we're going to do here before you come down. Thumbs next to the chest. Shoulders back away from the floor. That's key. Elbows in narrow. Are you watching? Inhale. We're going to lift into Cobra without using our hands too much. And exhale and come down. Okay, so join me here. Take your thumbs alongside your chest. Pull your shoulders away from the earth. And then press your pelvis down into the towel as you inhale and lift. And then exhale to come down. So if you activate your glutes, the muscles in your hips, and press your pelvis down before you lift your face and chest, you can actually lift more efficiently, more comfortably, and in a stronger way. So let's get the stronger action going. So inhale as you lift, exhale as you come down. So just to be sure, you're driving your pelvis down into your extra padding right before you lift up. And we're not using the arms, even though it looks like we might be, we're not. Drive the pelvis down and lift. Keep your legs narrow. One more time. And then we're pushing ourselves up and we're bringing the knees onto the extra padding if you need to. I know I do. We're coming into a hands and knees or a fists and knees position. You decide. Stay neutral. That means our back is straight. And then we'll press the hips to one side and the shoulders go opposite. And then we'll come back to center. Let's inhale there. Exhale. Go the opposite direction with your hips and your shoulders. And we'll go back and forth. So this isn't a side bend, even though it could be. This isn't a side bend. Elbows are staying as straight as possible, and you're feeling the stretch in the outside of your body, maybe outside of your hips, the outside of your shoulders. 2 more. Now let's come back to the center. Tuck your toes under. Ooh, feel that toe stretch. Inhale, exhale, drop your elbows down so they're just a few inches away from your knees. Be careful that you're not overstretching your toes. Come back up, inhale, and exhale down. Now do your best to keep your shoulders away from your earlobes. Keep your elbows lined up with your wrists and your knees. In other words, they don't flare out. How do your toes feel? They should feel a pleasant amount of stretch. It shouldn't be too painful. Now this time we come down with the elbows right in front of the knees and we stay here. Keep drawing your face away from the earth. Keep your neck muscles strong that way. And then we'll untuck the toes, and then I want you to find your version of child's pose. Maybe your elbows go further forward. Maybe you can sit further back. Maybe you can sit much further back with your arms out in front of you. You decide. your breath find its way into your back ribs and your side ribs. All right, and then we're coming back up onto our hands and knees, or fists and knees, that's always your option. Make sure that your wrists are right under your shoulders, your knees are right under your hips, and then we'll lift the tailbone up, we'll inhale, and then we'll drop the tailbone downward and we'll exhale. So here's what you're going to feel here. As you lift the tailbone up, you inhale, feel the stretch in your belly, your lower belly. And then exhale, drop the tailbone. Feel the stretch through your low back. Let's do it again. Now, as you stretch your lower belly here with your tailbone rising, you're going to feel some compression in your low back. So you may be feeling that also. See if you can keep your shoulders and your neck neutral as you move your pelvis. All right, now let's come back to neutral with our spine. Take one big step forward with your hands and then see how far back you can sit. Get a big stretch for your shoulders, through your side ribs, through your armpits, through your chest. Now come up on your hands and knees, and I want you to watch once again. Once again, we're going to have the pelvis on the extra padding, but I want you to watch. We're going to do one leg, and then down, the other leg, and then down, and then eventually both legs. And I just want to point out that we're resting our forehead on our hands so our neck can stay neutral. Go ahead and join me down here. Make sure you have enough padding under your pelvis. All right, once you're down, make sure you don't have a ton of tension in your shoulders. Just let it go. And then right leg lifts up and it lowers down. Left leg lifts up and it lowers down. Keep going with the single legs. It's not as vital that you're inhaling or exhaling at a particular point as we're doing this motion, as long as you're not holding your breath. That's the most important thing here. One more time with your left leg lifting. Make sure the lifting is coming from your hip and your low back. Now let's try a few with both legs lifting. Make sure they stay narrow. Lift, don't expect too much height. And then release. And we'll do it again. So you may be feeling some fatigue starting to accumulate in your low back. Don't be surprised if you are. We're going to take a break in just a second, but if you need to take a break before that, push back up slowly to your hands and knees. But otherwise, stay here with me for 2 more. And then come all the way down. Now we slide the hands next to the chest. Make sure you brace through your core as you push up. Bring your knees onto your extra padding. And then your hands go to that further out in front of you position. Inhale. As you exhale, the right arm reaches through to the left side, coming down, twisting. And then inhale to the center, both hands forward. Exhale, left arm. Coming down and twisting. You're feeling some of the tension that may have accumulated in your low back is now starting to dissipate. We have one more. coming back into your version of child's pose. We're coming up. Now we need our extra padding under our elbow. You may also need some extra padding under your knees. So I offer you this as a solution. Folding your mat in if you're using a mat. Maybe scooting your extra padding down so it's under your knees. So here's the position I want you to be in. Forehead, chest, pelvis, knees. More or less in this straight line. Your knees are bent, your feet are a little bit behind you. Now make sure that your elbow is not too far away from your hip. So we're getting ready to do side forearm kneeling plank. That's a long name for this. So can you join me here? Stack your knees, make sure you have enough padding, elbow and knee, and then inhale, reach out, exhale, come down. Now, if you can't lift up, I have lots of options for you. So if you don't feel comfortable lifting your hips up, then you can just straighten your leg. If you want something a little more challenging, you can make your hips lighter without actually lifting them. You can straighten your leg and raise your arm without lifting your hips or while making your hips lighter. Or you can do the whole move right here. Shoulders are away from ears. Let's come down. Now we'll push ourselves up, and then the shoulder that was down, roll that shoulder back and around. All right, I'm going to head to the other end of my mat. You can turn your back to me if you want. Either way. Remember to line up forehead, chest, pelvis, front of thighs and knees in one approximate straight line. Your feet are behind you, your knees are bent. And here we go, your version of the kneeling side forearm plank. Up and down. So every time we open a sliding glass door, every time we push something to the side, something that's heavy, we're using some of these muscles in almost this exact way. So even though we don't do too many things in our everyday life that look just like this, we do use these muscles in this way. One more. And then push yourself up. If you have your back to me, go ahead and turn around. Face me again. Roll your shoulder that was on the downside up and around. All right, let's come back to our seated position now. So sitting up on your towel if you need to, otherwise it goes off to the side. One leg in front of the other here. Comfortably sitting. Open up your chest, inhale, exhale. Let's lean over to the side. We're going to hold now with your top arm bent, or it can be straight. And then we'll come up. Now the crown of your head should be right over your pelvis, and then we'll twist and look over the shoulder. Stay here. And then release that, come back to the center. Let's reverse our legs. And then inhale. Exhale over. Can you still breathe into your navel? Do that navel expanding breath. Shoulder is soft. The arm is not getting in your way. You're able to lean over. And then we're coming up. Head over pelvis. On your next exhale, twist. Look over your shoulder. All right, and then we'll turn around to face forward and we'll roll the shoulders up and back and down. So how did that feel? We took ourselves into different relationships with gravity so we could train our core musculature differently depending on which direction gravity was. So I hope that you felt challenged, but not overly challenged. I hope you now feel stronger, and I hope that I'll see you again next time. Thanks for joining me, and until then, be well.